The grand ballroom of Chicago's Ritz-Carlton sparkled with elegance as the city's most influential figures gathered for the annual Children's Education Foundation Gala. Among them, Monica Taylor stood out in her emerald green gown, her natural curls styled in an elegant updo that highlighted her high cheekbones and warm brown eyes. At 42, she carried herself with the confidence of a woman who had fought her way to success. As one of Chicago's most respected civil rights attorneys, Monica was used to these high society events. She moved through the crowd with practiced ease, shaking hands and discussing her latest victories in court. Her law firm had just won a major case against a corporation discriminating against minority employees, and tonight, several potential donors wanted to support her next initiative. "Miss Taylor, your speech last month at the Bar Association was incredible," the senior judge commented, raising his champagne glass. Monica smiled graciously, about to respond, when she felt a shift in the room's energy. The crowd near the entrance parted like the Red Sea, and whispers rippled through the gathering. That's when she saw him. Marcus Reynolds had just walked in, looking even more handsome than she remembered. 15 years had treated him well, very well. His tall frame was wrapped in a perfectly tailored black suit that probably cost more than most people's monthly salary. His dark skin glowed with health, and those eyes, those same intense dark eyes that used to see right through her, were scanning the room. Monica's heart skipped a beat. She quickly turned away, pretending to be deeply engaged in conversation with the judge. But her hands trembled slightly as she lifted her champagne glass to her lips. "That's Marcus Reynolds," she heard someone nearby whisper. "The tech genius behind Reynolds Innovations. Worth billions now." Of course, Monica knew exactly who he was. How could she not? His face was regularly splashed across business magazines, and his company's revolutionary artificial intelligence platforms had changed the tech landscape. But to her, he would always be the ambitious college sophomore who had stolen her heart at Howard University, only to break it when he chose Silicon Valley over their relationship. "Monica," his deep voice carried across the space between them, and she knew she couldn't avoid him any longer. Slowly, she turned around, coming face to face with her past. "Marcus," she responded coolly, proud that her voice remained steady. What a surprise. His eyes softened as they took her in, and for a moment, she saw a flash of the young man she had once loved so deeply. "You look beautiful," he said quietly, almost to himself. The judge, sensing the tension, politely excused himself. Monica wished he hadn't left her alone with Marcus, but she maintained her composed exterior. "Thank you. Congratulations on all your success. I've read about your company's achievements." Marcus stepped closer, and Monica caught a whiff of his cologne, expensive but not overpowering. "I've been following your career too," he admitted. "The Williams case last month? Brilliant work." She felt a flutter in her stomach but pushed it down. "Just doing my job. If you'll excuse me, I need to speak with some potential donors." As she tried to step past him, Marcus gently touched her arm. The contact sent an unexpected jolt through her body. "Monica, wait. Could we maybe grab coffee sometime, just to catch up?" For a moment, Monica was transported back to their college days. Late nights studying in the library, stolen kisses between classes, dreams they'd shared about changing the world together. But then she remembered the pain, the tears, the way he walked away when she couldn't leave Howard to follow him to California. "I don't think that's a good idea, Marcus," she replied firmly, pulling her arm away. "The past should stay in the past." She walked away, her heels clicking against the marble floor, feeling his eyes following her. What she didn't see was the determination that settled over Marcus's features as he watched her disappear into the crowd. He hadn't come to Chicago by accident. This meeting was no coincidence. After 15 years of success, achievement, and empty luxury, Marcus Reynolds had finally admitted to himself what he'd known all along. Monica Taylor was the one who got away, and he was ready to do whatever it took to win her back. The night continued, but for both Monica and Marcus, everything had changed. The universe had brought them full circle, but this time, the stakes were higher, the hearts were more guarded, and the path forward was anything but clear. As Monica lay in bed that night after the gala, memories she'd locked away for 15 years came flooding back. Her modern downtown Chicago apartment felt suddenly hollow as the past wrapped around her like a familiar blanket. Howard University, fall 2009. The crisp autumn air carried the sound of laughter and music across the yard. Monica Taylor, a determined pre-love sophomore, was rushing to her constitutional law class when she literally crashed into Marcus Reynolds. Her books went flying, scattering across the pathway. "I'm so sorry," Marcus had said, immediately dropping to his knees to help gather her things. Their hands touched as they both reached for the same textbook, and when their eyes met, something electric passed between them. Monica shifted in her bed, the memory so vivid it made her chest ache. Those first few months had been magical. Marcus was brilliant, creative, and unlike anyone she'd ever met. While she spent hours in the law library, he would work on his laptop, coding what he swore would revolutionize the tech world. They'd talk until dawn about their dreams. Her following in her father's footsteps as a civil rights attorney in creating technology that would make the world more equitable. "We'll change things together," he used to say, kissing her forehead. "You'll fight injustice in the courtrooms, and I'll break down barriers in the tech world." But then came that fateful spring evening in 2010. Monica could still picture Marcus pacing her dorm room, his eyes bright with excitement. "Peter Thiel is offering me a fellowship, Monica. $100,000 to drop out and develop my ideas in Silicon Valley. This is my chance." The argument that followed was burned into her memory. "You're throwing away your education," she had pleaded. "We had plans, Marcus. What about graduating together? What about our future?" "Come with me," he urged. "We can build our future in California. This is bigger than college. This is our chance to make real change." But Monica couldn't leave. Her father had fought too hard as one of the first black federal judges in Georgia for her to drop out of college. The Taylor legacy of education and law was too important, too deeply rooted in her identity. Lying in her bed now, Monica wiped away a tear she hadn't realized had fallen. The next few weeks after that fight had been torture. Marcus tried everything to convince her to come with him. She tried everything to make him stay. They were at an impasse, both too young to understand that sometimes love isn't enough when dreams pull in opposite directions. The day he left campus was the last time she saw him until tonight. No goodbye, no final kiss. Just an empty dorm room and a note that said, "I'll always love you, but I have to do this. M." Monica got up and walked to her home office, flicking on the light. Her walls were covered with framed newspaper articles about her biggest cases, awards from the Bar Association, and photos with civil rights leaders. She'd achieved everything she dreamed of back then. Her firm was making real change, just like she'd wanted. She opened her laptop and, against her better judgment, typed Marcus Reynolds into the search bar. Articles poured out: his first successful app at 23, his AI breakthrough at 28, the IPO that made him a billionaire at 35. In every photo, he looked confident, successful, unstoppable. But Monica saw what others missed. In his eyes, especially in recent photos, there was something missing. The same emptiness she sometimes felt when she came home to an empty apartment after winning a big case. Success was meaningful, but it could also be lonely. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. "That coffee offer still stands. Marcus." Monica stared at the message, her finger hovering over the delete button. She should erase it, lock the number, protect her heart from the man who'd walked away all those years ago. But something stopped her. Maybe it was curiosity, maybe nostalgia, or maybe the realization that after 15 years, they were both different people, shaped by their choices, successes, and regrets. She put the phone down without responding, but she didn't delete the message. Sometimes, she thought as she finally drifted off to sleep, the past doesn't stay in the past. Sometimes it comes back around when you're finally ready to face it. The morning sun streamed through the windows of Brew and Bean, Monica's favorite coffee shop in downtown Chicago. Every Saturday for the past 5 years, she'd come here to enjoy her morning coffee and review case files in peace. Today was no different, or so she thought. Monica sat at her usual corner table, her laptop open and a steaming cup of black coffee beside her. Her hair was pulled back in a simple ponytail, and she wore casual weekend clothes, a soft sweater and jeans, a stark contrast to her usual courtroom attire. "Is this seat taken?" That voice. Monica looked up to find Marcus standing there, holding his own coffee cup. He was dressed down in a simple black t-shirt and dark jeans, but somehow still managed to look like he'd stepped out of a magazine. "This isn't a coincidence, is it?" Monica asked, her voice level despite her racing heart. Marcus gave her a small, sheepish smile. I may have asked around about your weekend routine. He gestured to the empty chair. 5 minutes? That's all I'm asking for. Against her better judgment, Monica nodded. As Marcus sat down, she closed her laptop, creating a barrier between them with her crossed arms. How's your daughter? Marcus asked softly. Monica's eyes widened in surprise. How did you? LinkedIn, he admitted. Saw some photos of you and a teenage girl at law community events. She looks just like you. Jasmine, Monica said, a smile touching her lips despite herself. She's 15. Smart as a whip and already talking about law school. Like mother, like daughter, Marcus commented. Then, after a pause, I heard about your divorce too. I'm sorry. Monica's spine stiffened. David and I separated 3 years ago. It was amicable. She didn't mention the lonely nights, the way their careers had slowly pulled them apart, how history seemed to repeat itself in her life. And you? She asked, trying to deflect. No Mrs. Reynolds gracing the society pages? Something flickered in Marcus's eyes. Never married. Hard to find someone when you're comparing everyone to your college sweetheart. The words hummed between them, heavy with meaning. Monica took a sip of her coffee, using the moment to gather her thoughts. Why are you really here, Marcus? In Chicago? At my coffee shop? Marcus leaned forward, his eyes intense. I've achieved everything I set out to do, Monica. Everything I left Howard for. My company is changing the world, just like I dreamed. But lately, I've been thinking about what I gave up to get here. That was your choice, Monica said quietly but firmly. You chose Silicon Valley over us, he finished. I know. I was young and stupid. Thought I could have it all, do it all. Didn't understand that some things, once lost, can't be replaced with success or money. A group of students entered the coffee shop, their laughter breaking the tension. Monica watched them, remembering when she and Marcus had been that young, that carefree. I have a good life, Marcus, she said finally. I'm proud of what I've accomplished. Jasmine is my world. I'm not that starry-eyed college girl anymore. I know, he replied. I've read about your cases. You're even more impressive than I imagined you'd be. I'm not asking for anything, Monica. Just a chance to know who you are now. Monica studied him, trying to see past the billion-dollar success story to the man underneath. He looked different, more mature, certainly wealthier, but those eyes still held the same warmth they had 15 years ago. I have to go, she said, standing up. Jasmine has a debate competition this afternoon. Marcus nodded, accepting her implicit rejection, but as Monica gathered her things, she paused. There's a fundraiser next week for my youth legal education program, she said, not quite meeting his eyes. Thursday evening at the Cultural Center, if you're still in town. A slow smile spread across Marcus's face. I'll be there. As Monica walked out of the coffee shop, she felt something she hadn't experienced in years. A flutter of possibility, mixed with fear and just a hint of hope. Behind her, Marcus watched her go, knowing that this time he couldn't afford to make the same mistakes. This time, he had to prove that he was worthy of a second chance with the woman who had never really left his heart. Thunder rumbled across Chicago's skyline as Monica stood at her office window, watching Marcus's latest gesture being unloaded from a delivery truck. 20 brand new computers, state-of-the-art printers, and interactive smartboards, all for the youth legal education program she ran in the South Side. Miss Taylor, her assistant Sarah poked her head in. Mr. Reynolds is online too. Again. Monica sighed, glancing at the phone. This was the third time this week, and it had only been 10 days since their coffee shop encounter. After she left that morning, Marcus had sprung into action with an intensity that both impressed and overwhelmed her. Tell them I'm in a meeting, she said, turning back to the window. But as she watched the neighborhood kids gathering around the delivery truck with excitement in their eyes, she couldn't deny that Marcus's support was making a real difference. Last week, he'd spent an entire afternoon mentoring her students, sharing his journey from a modest background to tech success, emphasizing the importance of education and perseverance. Her phone buzzed with a text. The computers are just the beginning. These kids deserve every opportunity, just like we did at Howard. M. Monica's daughter Jasmine burst into the office, her school backpack still slung over her shoulder. Mom, did you see what Marcus sent? Tyler and Keisha are already planning to use the new computers for their mock trial presentations. Slow down, baby, Monica smiled, noting how her daughter's eyes lit up. Over the past week, Marcus had somehow managed to win Jasmine over, talking to her about her debate team and showing genuine interest in her dreams of becoming a corporate lawyer. He's different from Dad, Jasmine said suddenly, catching Monica off guard. Marcus actually listens when I talk about school and stuff. Dad just sends gifts and checks. Monica's heart tightened. David, her ex-husband, loved Jasmine but had always struggled to connect with their daughter's intellectual pursuits. His idea of parenting largely involved financial support rather than emotional presence. Speaking of Marcus, Jasmine continued with a sly smile. He mentioned something about tickets to the symphony this weekend. Jasmine Taylor, Monica said firmly, are you conspiring with my ex-boyfriend? Former ex-boyfriend, Jasmine corrected. Maybe current friend. Potential future. That's enough, Monica cut her off, but couldn't help smiling. Don't you have homework? After Jasmine left, Monica finally picked up her phone and dialed Marcus's number. I thought you were in a meeting, he answered, amusement in his voice. The computers, Marcus? The smart boards? It's too much. It's not enough, he replied seriously. Those kids remind me of us at their age. All that potential, just needing the right tools and support. Monica sat down at her desk. You can't buy your way back into my life. I know that, Marcus said softly. But I can show you that I've changed, that I understand now what really matters. He paused. Have dinner with me tomorrow night. Just dinner. Let me prove that this isn't about money or guilt or trying to fix the past. Monica thought about the way he'd sat with Tyler, a troubled teen in her program, for 2 hours last week, helping him understand coding basics. How he remembered Jasmine's debate competition schedule without being reminded. The genuine interest he showed in her work, beyond just throwing money at it. One dinner, she agreed finally, but no fancy restaurants, no grand gestures, just real conversation. I know just the place, Marcus said, and she could hear his smile. Remember how we used to get those Grazy burgers from that place near campus? You want to eat burgers? Monica laughed to spite herself. The billionaire tech mogul? With you? Absolutely. Some things haven't changed, Monica. Like how my day gets better just hearing you laugh. The sincerity in his voice made her heart skip. Tomorrow at 7, she said quickly. And Marcus? Thank you for the computers. The kids. It means a lot to them. After hanging up, Monica looked out at the darkening sky. The thunder had passed, leaving behind a gentle rain that cleaned the city streets. Maybe, she thought, some storms came not to destroy, but to clear the path for something new to grow. The autumn wind whipped through downtown Chicago as Monica hurried into her law firm's building. Her mind was still on last night's dinner with Marcus, their 4th in 2 weeks, when she stopped dead in her tracks. There, leaning against her office door with a familiar easy smile, was David. Her ex-husband looked exactly as she remembered. Tall, distinguished, with gray peppered through his dark hair. He was wearing one of his expensive suits that had always made him look like he'd stepped out of a law firm brochure. David, what are you doing here? Can't a man visit the mother of his child? He straightened up, holding out a coffee cup. Your favorite, hazelnut latte, extra shot. Monica had accepted the coffee warily. After 3 years of relatively peaceful co-parenting, Monica stared at the email on her computer screen, her hands shaking as she read it for the 10th time. The State Bar Association was launching an investigation into her firm's handling of the Harrison case, their biggest victory of the year against corporate discrimination. Anonymous sources claim evidence tampering. The email read, all case files to be reviewed. Temporary suspension of practice pending investigation. The morning sun cast long shadows across her office as her team gathered around, their faces showing mixture of shock and fear. This case had put their small firm on the map, bringing justice to hundreds of minority employees who had faced systematic discrimination. Now it was all falling apart. They're saying we falsified witness statements, Sarah, her junior partner, whispered. That's impossible. We did everything by the book. Monica's phone buzzed. Marcus calling again. She had missed their lunch date yesterday, too overwhelmed with the emerging crisis to explain. She let it go to voicemail. Miss Taylor, her assistant interrupted. Mr. Harrison is here. James Harrison, their key witness and former company executive, walked in looking nervous. Monica, we have a problem. They're saying I lied under oath. They're threatening to press charges. The room spun slightly as Monica gripped her desk. Harrison had been their star witness, the insider who exposed years of discriminatory practices. If he crumbled now. Someone got to him, Sarah muttered after Harrison left. The corporation must have threatened him. Monica's phone buzzed again. This time it was David. I just heard, he said when she answered. The partners are talking about it at my firm. This could ruin your practice, Monica. Let me help. What can you do? She asked wearily. I have connections. I can make some calls, pull some strings. We can make this go away. The offer was tempting. David's firm had powerful allies, but using those connections would mean compromising everything she stood for. No, she said firmly. If we fight this, we do it legally and transparently. As if on cue, her phone lit up with another text from Marcus. Saw the news. Whatever you need, I'm here. My legal team is at your disposal. Monica felt tears threatening to fall. Here were two men, both offering to save her, but accepting help from either felt like admitting defeat. This was her fight, her firm, her reputation. The day passed in a blur of emergency meetings and phone calls. By evening, 3 major clients had already suspended their contracts. 2 junior associates resigned, fearing career damage. The dream she had built over 15 years was crumbling. Jasmine found her still in the office at 9 p.m., surrounded by case files. Mom, she said softly, Marcus is downstairs. He's worried about you. I can't see him right now, Monica replied, not looking up. I'd have to find something, anything to prove we did everything right. He's not here as Marcus the billionaire or Marcus your ex, Jasmine insisted. He just wants to help, like Dad does. Monica finally looked at her daughter, seeing the concern in her eyes. When did you get so wise? Must be all those law books you made me read, Jasmine smiled. Mom, you taught me that being strong doesn't mean fighting alone. Downstairs, Marcus waited in the lobby, no fancy suit, no grand gestures, just concern in his eyes. I'm not here to rescue you, he said before she could speak. I know you can fight your own battles. I'm just here to remind you that you don't have to. Monica felt her carefully constructed walls beginning to crack. I can't lose everything I built, she whispered. This firm, these cases, they're my life's work. Then we'll fight, Marcus said simply. Not with money or power or connections, but with truth. The same way you fought every other battle in your career. As they stood there in the quiet lobby, Monica realized something. Both David and Marcus wanted to help, but while David offered to make the problem disappear, Marcus was offering to stand beside her while she faced it head-on. Sometimes, she thought, a crisis doesn't just test your strength, it shows you who truly understands what that strength means. Rain pounded against the windows of Monica's apartment as she sat on her couch, surrounded by old photo albums and case files. It had been 3 weeks since the investigation began, and tonight she couldn't sleep. The weight of unspoken truths felt heavier than ever. A knock at the door startled her. It was nearly midnight. She opened it to find Marcus standing there, soaked from the rain. You're not returning my calls, he said, water dripping from his jacket. It's late, Marcus. I know why you've been avoiding me, he stepped inside. The tech company that's behind the investigation into your firm? They're one of my biggest competitors. Monica's breath caught. She'd discovered this connection yesterday, but hadn't known how to confront him about it. Did you know? She asked quietly. When he came back to Chicago, did you know this was coming? Marcus ran a hand over his face, water still dripping. Not at first. But last week, my board mentioned they were working with them on a merger. That's when I discovered their plan to discredit your firm. Why didn't you tell me immediately? Because I knew you'd do exactly what you're doing now. Pull away, assume the worst. His voice cracked slightly. 15 years ago, I left because I thought success was all that mattered. Now my success might be what destroys everything you built. Monica sank onto the couch, emotions overwhelming her. When you left Howard, She said finally. I felt abandoned. Like I wasn't enough to make you stay. And I felt like you didn't believe in my dreams enough to come with me, Marcus replied, sitting beside her. We were both so young, so stubborn. I was scared, Monica admitted. Scared of leaving the path my father had laid out. Scared of taking a chance on something uncertain. Thunder cracked outside as Marcus reached for her hand. I was scared too. Scared I wasn't good enough for you without making it big. Scared I'd fail and prove everyone right who said a kid from my background couldn't make it in tech. So you ran. So I ran, he agreed. And spent 15 years building an empire, thinking it would fill the hole you left. But seeing you again, watching you fight for what's right, seeing the amazing mother you've become. He paused. I realize success means nothing if you don't have anyone to share it with. Monica pulled her hand away, standing up. That's beautiful, Marcus, but it doesn't solve our current problem. Your company's merger could destroy everything I've worked for. Unless I stop it, Marcus said firmly. I'm calling an emergency board meeting tomorrow. I'll expose their plans, use my influence to protect your firm. You'd risk your company's biggest deal for me. I'd risk everything for you, he said simply, because losing you once taught me what really matters. Money, success, power, they're nothing compared to love. Tears fell freely now as Monica faced him. I thought I was protecting myself by keeping you at arm's length these past weeks. But the truth is, I'm still that scared college girl, afraid to trust, afraid to leap. Marcus stood, closing the distance between them. And I'm still that ambitious kid, trying to prove I'm worthy of you. But this time, I want to prove it not with money or success, but by standing beside you, fighting your battles with you, loving you and Jasmine with everything I have. It won't be easy, Monica whispered. The investigation, the merger, our history. The best things never are, Marcus smiled, wiping away her tears. But this time, if you'll let me, I'm staying. No running, no choosing success over love. Just us, facing whatever comes together. As the storm raged outside, Monica felt years of built-up walls crumbling. The truth had finally broken free, not just about the investigation or their past, but about their hearts. They had both changed, grown, learned from their mistakes. Maybe, just maybe, those changes had led them back to each other for a reason. We're not those kids anymore, Monica said softly. No, Marcus agreed. We're better. Stronger. Wiser. And as they stood there, the truth of those words settling around them like a warm embrace, both realized that sometimes the longest journeys lead you right back home, to a love that's waited patiently for you to find your way back. The Chicago skyline glittered under a star-filled sky as Monica stood on her office balcony, exactly 1 month after the night of truth with Marcus. The past 4 weeks had brought more changes than she could have imagined. True to his word, Marcus had exposed the competitors' plans to his board. The merger was cancelled, and the investigation into Monica's firm was dropped after evidence emerged of corporate tampering. Her reputation wasn't just saved, it was stronger than ever. Mom! Jasmine's voice came from behind her. Dad's here. Monica turned to see David standing in her office doorway, looking more relaxed than she'd seen him in years. The past month had changed him too. Just dropped by to sign those college tour permission forms, David said, holding up some papers. Stanford next weekend, right? Yes, Jasmine beamed. Marcus helped me connect with their pre-law program director. Monica watched as David nodded, no trace of the jealousy that would have been there a month ago. Their recent family dinner, where both men had been present, had cleared the air in unexpected ways. You know, David said after Jasmine left, I always thought losing you was my biggest failure. But watching you these past weeks, seeing you find happiness again, I realized holding on to the past was the real failure. We had good years, David, Monica said softly. We gave Jasmine a loving home. That's not failure. No, it's not, he agreed. But what you have with Marcus, that's something different. Something I think you've been waiting for since Howard. Before Monica could respond, Marcus appeared in the doorway. He nodded respectfully to David. The car's ready downstairs, he said to Monica. Everyone's waiting at the courthouse. Today was the day Monica's firm would announce their new initiative, a legal aid program for minority-owned tech startups, funded jointly by Reynolds Innovations and several other major companies. It was a perfect blend of both their worlds. David smiled, heading for the door. Good luck with the announcement. And Marcus? He paused. Take care of them. Always, Marcus replied simply. After David left, Marcus joined Monica on the balcony. You okay? Just thinking about choices, she said. How every decision we make leads us somewhere unexpected. Having second thoughts? There was a trace of vulnerability in his voice. Monica turned to face him, seeing not the billionaire tech mogul or even her college sweetheart, but the man who had proven himself through actions rather than words. The man who attended every one of Jasmine's debates, who fought for her firm's reputation, who showed up every day just to make her smile. The opposite, she said. I'm thinking about how sometimes the hardest choices turn out to be the simplest once you let go of fear. Marcus pulled her close. And what are you afraid of now? Nothing, she whispered. For the first time in years, absolutely nothing. Below them, the city buzzed with life. In the courthouse, hundreds waited for their announcement. A new chapter in both their lives that would help others achieve their dreams. We should go, Monica said. They're waiting. Let them wait one more minute. Marcus smiled. I have something to ask you. He reached into his pocket and pulled out a small box. Monica's heart stopped. I'm not proposing, he said quickly, seeing her expression. Not yet. That's a conversation for another day, when we're both ready. He opened the box to reveal a simple silver key. But I did buy that brownstone you loved in Hyde Park. The one with the library Jasmine couldn't stop talking about. If you're ready, it's ours. Tears welled in Monica's eyes as everything fell into place. This wasn't just about choosing between past and present, between old love and new beginnings. It was about choosing herself, choosing growth, choosing the kind of love that makes you better. Yes, she said, taking the key. Yes to the house, yes to us, yes to whatever comes next. As they drove to the courthouse later, Monica looked at Marcus and Jasmine chatting in the front seat, at the city she loved flowing past her window, at the future spreading out before them like an open road. Sometimes the biggest choices in life aren't choices at all. They're simply moments of recognition, when your heart finally catches up to what your soul has known all along. And for Monica Taylor, that moment was now.